Oh, boy, here we are. Welcome. I'm in my lads. Juan is over here with the no-frame glasses.
That's
I'm
right.
here with my frame glasses because I have more money than him. Because I've been following my yearly goals. Yes, indeed, it is a meandering session, but it's going to be slightly more structured. Although, actually, no, it won't be. We're going to be deconstructing our yearly goals from 2020 to 2021 because we sort of start them. Juan, you start yours in August. I start mine in October. So we've finished right now. We're recording as of the very late September of 2021.
So they've ended, a couple of months ago for me.
Yes. Yep.
For you, they're just sort of trailing now.
Yep. Exactly. So just a notice for this one as well. We'll be doing our Boostagram section right at the end. So stay tuned for that if you want to hear that. But other than that, is there anything else we want to get off our chest before diving right in?
No. Let's dive right in.
Okay, so 2020 and 2021, I should just say, we do yearly goals as part of our whole overall goal setting thing. So I guess for you, you'd call it the sort of intermediate level, right? So you've got very long-term goals. Do you even have ones that you aim for 10 years out?
I mean, mine are less long-term goals. I wouldn't call them goals so much. Maybe I would. Maybe some people would.
Aspirations.
Maybe aspirations. And I think mine is that scale of 0 to 5 of eminent human being.
Yep.
So it's not like a direct goal that you could be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to achieve it. It's going to be achieved by doing other things that will sum up to it, I guess. So yeah, I'd say aspirations. But this is the yearly goals for me would be the longest goals that I would set up that have qualitative and quantitative ways, and I would track it and actually say, oh, okay, yes, I've met this, or I'm actually tracking towards it.
Yeah, okay. So I do it slightly differently. I set up 8 categories about 5-6 years ago, which I thought these are something I want to aspire for at least the next 10 years.
Yep.
And that is what I base my yearly goals in, and I sort of do a one-to-one comparison, direct translation. So this is that thing I need to work on. Bam, bam, bam.
Yep.
We might do that for talking about our yearly goals for the next year in the musings. So that'll be number 234. So check that out if you want to hear those particular ones for me. Yep. But yeah, for me, this is more an intermediate range. So I set these goals because I want something to focus on for the next year. So really, one point in particular, it will be slightly quantitative, slightly qualitative as well. So some of these do have numbers on them, and some of them are a feeling. Did I feel that I achieved this? So it's a bit of a mix of them. We haven't particularly talked about how to set this out. How many did you have for this last year?
I had 17 plus 3 of what was called my my sort of extra extension of the goals.
Yeah.
So I'll talk into how that went.
All right, you kick us off with, 4 or 5 or something.
Cool. Okay. Now, well, actually, the way I wanted to kick it off is just more go global view of it, rather than going into each individual one.
Okay.
So for me, I thought when I was kind of looking at these, and I've already obviously done this when my long-term, my yearly goals sort of ended, to have a quick review. And what I actually did was, because I want to kind of find out yours, I basically took a few hours out of my time, and I went, okay, how'd I go in terms of both my daily eminent achievements? I've got a daily thing where I put out of my groupings of body, mind, soul, how'd I go? And for me, it was okay, well, I aimed for 2.5, and I was average 2.89. So I was all right, cool. And then from the monthly achievement, progress achievement, aiming was 80%. So that's when we talk about our monthly goals, I wanted to achieve 80%, and I achieved 85%. So I was oh, very cool. But then with the actual yearly progress, I was aiming for 85% of completion of the goals, and I actually got 80%. So I was ooh, okay, very cool. But the one thing straight away that for me, so if I look at it from how many goals I actually went after, which was 17 plus a 3 extension, I ended up, what I would say 100% achieving was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 out of 20. That was 100%. Some of the others were so-and-so. And then for me, the extension ones, those extra ones, just didn't get done at all. I put them down being oh yeah, this will be my extra extension. These will be oh, once I achieve my yearly goals, okay, these are going to be the next target. Almost that sort of saying of oh, what could you do in 6 years, but try and do it in 6 months and then try to figure it out. So I was trying to go for that sort of mentality, and I don't feel like it worked out. I don't know if it was I didn't focus on it or whatever else. But yeah, I want to kind of hear your general view of the year, and then we'll actually just go. We can go a couple through them.
Yeah, I would say probably a mix as well. Like there's some that I definitely did achieve 100%, i.e. the 7-day silent retreat thing. You know, that was a real. Once I've done it, it's ticked off.
It's done.
There's others like the reading the Tripitaka, which are sort of, you know, I did it, but the goal itself was modifying throughout the year, so I didn't stay true to the original plan, but I feel like I did enough work to say, like, yes, I completed what I was sort of hoping for. What the intent of this was, yep. And then there's some which are like, you know, 80%, the food challenge is one, yeah, I did most of it, but some of them obviously I didn't. And then a couple which were like, absolutely, like, no, that's incorrect. You did not get it.
It was not done. Yeah, okay.
A mixed bag is me. If I was going to look at what you were talking about with that sort of daily tracking of 2.5 or whatever, for me, I have, and slightly modifying for this next year, I'll talk about that later, it was like a daily thing that would be like a yes or no, really. So it would be, you know, did I do 30 minutes of stretching today? Yes or no. Did I do 30 minutes of German? Yes or no. And those would sort of, I'd have maybe like 12 of those throughout the day, and each day would be like yes, no, whatever. Yeah. If I had to look at that, I haven't done the stats on that, but if I had to look, I'm usually around the 80% on that. Okay. So, you know, that, and I suppose that's what you want. You want to just try and keep that core aspect, 80-20.
You don't want it to be, you know, you're not really aiming for 100%, because I think if you aim for 100%, you're almost certainly going to fail.
You're not only will you fail in the small sense, because you will not be able to maintain everything, and you will start losing important stuff that's not on the goal tracking list. Like, I have nothing to do with my family on here, but if I was trying to get a daily all of the things I wanted to, I would have to stop going home, seeing the family. Like, I would have to cut off friends. I would have to do all of these things which are important to me, and they're just not on here. And then I would also argue that you'd fail in the longer sense, because you'll just burn out. Like,
you might be able to do it for
you'll be like,
a short
oh
period
fuck,
of time.
You know, there's like what it'd be like 11:29. You haven't done your German, 30 minutes of German practice today. Like, fuck, gotta like just get wherever I can, run to like the nearest library, break in, get a German book to be able to study. You know, that sort of thing. So, yeah, agreed.
Okay, well, let's actually break them down. So I'll go through a couple just now. Did I order these? Yes, I did. So I'll go through my body category, because obviously I've got 3 categories that I already talked about. So there was 4 from last year. The top 2 there was validating, basically what would encompass a top 20% human being, and then actually attempting to achieve top 20. So validating, I did that. That was like basically like an analysis piece to figure out.
We'll go back and you'll see my hatred, but my dislike of the word validating.
Yeah, validating.
Yes, continue on.
And then actually achieving it. So validating, yep, cool, easy, was able to do it. And then the actual achieving it, I put down 80%. So I did a lot of things which encompass. I did a lot of running. There was swimming that got involved. There was lifts that got involved. There was like max amount of push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and all these sort of things that I like. I think there was 15 or 16 different like movements that I went, okay, that was based on like what I can see and some calculations. This would be like top 20%, and I achieved. I think there was 3 of them that I didn't do from the levels that I was putting down. And then one of the extra ones was achieve top 10% scores. So I put down, you know, what would be top 20%, what top 10%, and what would be top 5% in a general population / trained way that I could find the information for. And while I was able to like get the top 20% for a lot of them, top 10%, I was just, I don't know, there was obviously, you need a lot more focus to be able to achieve it for me. I was like, there's no way I'm going to get top 10% for things like running. I was putting down like things like for the marathon, when I was like, oh, what's top 10? Dude, like, this is going to be so ridiculous. There's no way I'm going to do that.
What's that? That'd be like 2 hours.
It was like sub 3 hours. Yeah. It wasn't like 2 hours. It was in like 2 hours, like 10.
No, but like 2 hours 50 or something.
Yeah, exactly. So now I was like, that's not happening. No. So those 2, and then I had a couple more which I just sort of like ticked off, which was attending a fitness expo, and then settling on the most efficient stretching protocol.
Did you go to a fitness expo?
I did. I was trying to actually recall which one this was. I'll actually have to go back and look at my notes. Exactly. Oh, yes. I didn't term this as because it wasn't any fitness expos. when
due
going
COVID
to
and-
CrossFitorian's the CrossFitorian event
Yeah.
weekend that was on that day.
Okay.
I kind of went like, okay, well that was kind of like what I could say. Like that was the only thing I
Yeah.
could possibly go to. So I was like, okay.
There was one or two others. There was a like a body weight movement.
Yeah,
thing,
there was something
convention
else.
center, so-
But that was after I believe I'd gone to Torian, I think.
Yeah,
So I was like,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then settling on the most efficient stretching protocol I could,
Mm-hmm.
which was cool. So like now I've got a dedicated stretching like routine after normal workouts, and obviously some of that's transitioned into my new yearly goals, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's
nice.
body.
Nice. All right. I'll do just 3.
Yep.
I'll also split mine into 3 groups as well. So, partner for me. So this was physically meet with new people.
Yes.
This was. I'm gonna have to say, like less than 50% of what I maybe envisioned myself doing throughout the year. I did make efforts to get out, so I was physically meeting with new people, but I was putting no intent. There was no action behind that. I was sort of hoping, like, you know, the standard sort of back in the day when I was looking to pick up, and you go to the forums or whatnot, and people would be telling about their overseas trips, and there would be this subclass of dudes who have no game. They have not approached women in their own home cities, and yet they assume, oh, if I go out to Colombia, there's like,
I'll be able to do it all the time.
I'll be like rolling in poon, like there'll be putti vueltas everywhere, and the people are like, no. If you don't have the courage to talk to girls,
do it now. Yeah, you're not going to do it
now in your home city where you are comfortable.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to be able to do it where you don't speak the language, where there's, you know, it could be slightly dangerous in the clubs there. You have, like, there's just no. So you need to have the intent, I guess, beforehand. And then if you're going overseas, then you'll know how to do this.
Yeah.
Similar sort of thing with me. It was like, oh, just because I'm putting myself around, you know, women doesn't mean anything's going to happen. There needs to be some intent and action behind that. So, yes, I did go out and meet new people, but
not enough intent.
with the intent of finding a relationship with a girl, there was nothing there. I wasn't putting in the effort. So I'm going to have to give myself a cross for that one, let's say, underneath. But going to a bunch of new meetup groups, like the Spanish ones, we started getting into the crypto ones right at the end of this year. It's been more outgoing for myself than I normally
Usually,
have. Yep. So another one, relationships. So this is just relationships in general. 10 people in the Mere Mortal community. I would feel pretty comfortable saying that. I'd say we've got 10 around the globe and local home. I would say there's 10 people. I'd say, yeah, they're pretty in our community. They get out. They'd understand like one of the in jokes. They would be regularly popping up and saying, hey, I really like this thing, or adding some feedback and whatnot. So yeah, I'd say that one. I think that was just lots of cultivation on our part on the Instagram, on improving our own quality for the photoshopping and stuff. That's been a pretty big success. People have really liked that. So, and that took effort, man. All of those things where it's like, fuck, I'm gonna have to start learning how to do Photoshop. Now that I'm in it, yeah, sure, it's okay, but fuck, man, there was a period where it was just like, I don't have time. I don't have time to do any of this. So I think that one has been a tick off. Yeah. Financial, build a position to monetize the podcast. Can't believe I use this word that I hate now. Monetize. So I think we like inadvertently managed to do this, because I was not expecting finding podcasting 2.0 and
exactly.
and
There's
going
no
down
way
that
you would have
route.
seen that coming at the like a year ago.
And honestly, yeah. So I think like this goal fucking lucked into it, man. Because I was doing research on advertising models, on paywalls and things like that, and I just didn't like any of them. So
yeah,
it was sort of like I was doing the opposite of the goal.
But it was like, nah.
And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. Nah, I don't want to do that. If anything, I was thinking it would have to be more like something like my brother was talking about creating a beer o'clock thing, where it's like it'll go based on your geolocation, and it would appear like on a screen saying like, it's now 9 a.m. in blah blah blah, beer o'clock time, and then it would have like a ding or something. And he was talking about creating this little clock object thing, because he has some coding stuff, and my dad sort of knows how to do logistics and, creation of manufacturing, that sort of stuff. He's done a couple of things like that. And I was like, oh, maybe, we could promote the beer o'clock thing in the podcast. That was like probably the route I was going to go down more than anything, but no. So this one I'd say ticked off. I think we know where we want to go. Boostagrams,
in a very weird way.
Community support from people. It's because they started it in August of 2020. So it was like, if I'd found it then, it could have been like, oh yeah.
Yeah, oh man, the chance you would have known it then is like almost next to zero.
So so those three there. One definitely didn't do. Two, I'd say.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Good.
Mine's there's going to be similar now because so this is my little mind section. So I was solidifying my legendary list, which cool, was able to do it. I'm not going to go too much into that. I had another one which was 10x my network of influence. So. If I think back to why I was wanting to do this, I think so. At the time, I actually noted it down. So, this is basically the network of mere mortals, socials, my personal profiles, basically like every profile I've got online. It summed up to about 5,000 followers, right? So I was like, okay, I want to be able to 10x that by the end of the year, see what happens, and basically what can I do around that. So, most definitely was not able to do that, but was able to double it. At least double it. So from whatever I checked, was like 9,000 and something by about a couple of days before the end of the year, and obviously now it's well beyond that. But I think that one was more of I wasn't able to do it for sure, but it at least gave me that mindset of like, okay, what are we doing to like extend it out? And again, there were some learnings that I took away there of focusing a little bit more specifically on a platform for a specific time, and then moving on and doing other ones, which will translate into the New Year's goals. I have the other one, which is generate income from mere mortals. So
there we go.
Again, I went down the route of should we create the goal planning list, or like how to do goals?
Yeah, you were doing that for a while.
I did that for a while. Then I was thinking of again ads, or is it going to be like another network? And again, just the fact that we stumbled into podcasting 2.0 is like, okay, what the hell? But very cool. Achieving over 300 content pieces with the mere mortals through audio and video. So we definitely achieved that.
Yes.
We definitely achieved that. That one was one of those where that was at the time when we were saying like, we're going to dedicate like one a day, and we were talking about this just like last night.
We were
doing like 6 pieces of content, and we were doing much.
That was a period where we were just going.
We were doing Gary Ving, and we were pumping it out. Establishing a business system for mere mortals, something that becomes scalable. I'll say no to that one. So that there was maybe on the quality of the podcast we do. Okay, it's like we can scale it to other podcasts, like you now doing Valley for Valley. So I guess that could be called scale, but as a business, no, not so much. And then revamping my master list. So this is just my like financial health business. There was a lot of restructuring that I had to do, which easy tick. And then crystallizing my goal setting on a monthly basis and long-term basis. So that is because a year ago, the way that I would do monthly goals, and specifically my like daily retrospections and monthly retrospections, was not there at all. So that was just work that led up to what is now the way that I kind of like retrospect on daily, monthly, etc. So
good. All right, so my next three are health, spirituality, and travel. So health, I was going to do 12-month plan of food challenges. So each month I had a challenge that I was going to do. So quickly, just to list them off, it was 6 of them were sort of reducing my sugar intake to manageable levels, because if you've listened to long enough, like that's my one weakness. One weakness, people. I only have one.
The only one.
So that was eating at like 10% of my calories would come from sugar, or like a sugar product. So if I'm eating like a donut, I'm not going in and going like only carbs. No. It's as a whole process group. So there was a bunch of them. 3 of them at 6 of them, 2 at 20%, 2 at 10%, and 2 at 0%, i.e. nothing, like no sugar, which was actually scary. That was scary to me, because I was like, I need sugar. Like, I love dessert. Like, am I gonna like ruin my life by not having, like, ruin my month
dessert.
By not having like
this month.
This thing that I love at the end of eating. It didn't, people. We're incredibly adaptive. The other ones was strict vegan, so I did do that for a while. I didn't particularly enjoy that. That was I did vegetarian last year. That was okay. I found that actually, and I've actually have been surprisingly eating more vegetarian meals just nowadays. Like it's not super, maybe 1 in 10 meals, something like that.
Okay.
I was going to do what else did I have here? Three were sort of fasting ones. 4 were fasting ones. So this would be 4 one-day fasts in a month. I did that. A 5-day fast for 4 days, 20 hours, 22 hours. Does that count?
Yeah.
I'm going to count it. But then there's the 3 which I did not do. So there was the 6-day fast, 7-day fast.
Yeah.
After my 5-day one, I just went, no, thanks. Like it just got to that point where I was like, there's no reason for this. This is the only reason for this is to make myself suffer more and prove that I can suffer more than anyone else. Yeah. And it's like, I had my revelation, I guess you'd say, around April-ish, and I'll go into that a little bit later. So those 2 I crossed off, and then the paleo as well. That was just a really bad decision. I didn't realize how strict paleo is. I thought it was like, it's free, man. Yeah, like you're not meant to eat grains or processed foods, but yeah, you'll be able to eat sort of like pastas and rice still. And it's like, no, you can't eat that. So no, I changed that to just one. Have a paleo meal.
What was that paleo meal?
I haven't even done it yet. I was gonna eat it this next week. So before October
the
starts.
actual cut over.
Yeah, and then the other one was the so that was the health. Spirituality was the 7-day silent retreat. Yes, if you want to get technical again, I only did 6 full days, and then the 7th day also included like arriving and travel and whatnot. But I actually just couldn't book 8 nights. 9 nights. Sorry, in the Airbnb. Whatever reason they only restricted me to 7 nights or whatever it was. So I'm ticking that off though. I did that.
Yeah, I feel like it's very close enough.
Yeah, and this. All right, I mentioned it just before. Yeah, so doing that made me realize that was one of my big learnings from the year. I guess deconstructing the goals. It's fun, I guess, to test yourself, but there's a point where it just becomes like self-masturbatory testing. Like it's not helping anything by you doing this. You're just putting more stress in your life. You're creating more time to like detracting time from things that are more important, i.e. like time with my family, improving my mind via German or Spanish, like things I really love doing. And meditating 8 hours a day is not something I really love doing. That's way too much, man. So that was the thing that also made me go with the food month challenge. Is like, I don't need to do these like that. I don't need to do a 6-day fast. I don't need to do a 7-day fast. Like I'm not doing it for the health benefits. I'm not doing it. The only reason I'm doing it
just to prove to myself that I can do it.
Is to be like,
I can do it. I did 7 days.
Yeah, which is fun. Agreed. And maybe I'll do more of that in this next year once I've sort of forgotten the pain of doing that. But I think I was doing too many things at once and just wiped me out. And then the other was travel. So this was learning basic German and advanced Spanish. I would absolutely say I got advanced Spanish. The amount of effort I put into the reseñas in Spanglish, reading Spanish books, all of that, I would say there's not much more I could have done bar having like a Spanish girlfriend and chatting with her in Spanish 2 or 3 hours a day. No, I think I did that as much. The German though, no, that's a big fat no. I learned some words, but no, it's not acceptable. So that is 50% yes, 50%.
Okay. I'm interested to hear if you are continuing that as well.
We'll find out.
We'll find out soon enough.
234.
All right, so my last ones, which is all around soul. So there's a lot of groupings here around, like, the way I wrote them was like, figuring out how to hype myself up effectively, or figuring out how to calm myself effectively.
I remember those.
Learning to give, not to take. Other ones was like supporting a charitable event, give back. So things like charitable event, we were able to do that. Did that a couple of times.
Did the MS
walk. Exactly, MS walk. Hyping myself up effectively. For me, I was like, I was able to do that. But then a couple of the others around, like, how to exude confidence, not arrogance, and figuring out myself. I was like, I'll give myself 60% for those ones, because there was attempts and things I did throughout the year to do that, but I felt like I swayed away from it. Like I focused more on the how to hype myself up, or how to be like get engaged, but not the opposite side of, how I could like car down and just take things a little bit easier. So a lot of that, I think my little breakdown on that one was the way I worded them as well wasn't as, like, it was too qualitative. Too qualitative in the sense that I read it and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But breaking that down to monthly and even like a daily process of what I'm going to do was, a little tough. That almost is like what I would aspire, but not what I should have put down for yearly goals. So I definitely learned from that.
Yep.
And then just lastly, the my extras, which was, so I already mentioned one of them, achieving a top 10% scores of fitness. No, was not achieved at all. There was another round, the Mere Mortals, where it was just turning the way that we are working and leveraging it to sell. So wasn't able to do that either. And then there was one last one that I put down, which is understanding how to connect with my rational brain and contain my emotions. And again, if I wasn't putting enough effort or time into some of the other ones around myself, there's no way I was going to get achieved at all. So I was like, okay, fair enough.
Once an emotional wreck, people.
Oh, the emotional wreck. So anyway, those were the what I call my 28-year-old goals.
Okay,
I go from year to year from birthday.
29,
So anyways, those ones.
Very cool, very cool. All right,
what are your last ones?
My last two were character. So this was engaging in volunteer and charity work. Yes, in a way, and then no in a way. So one thing that I have come up from this is I am pretty dedicated now to giving platelets fortnightly. So as much as I can, really, and that's becoming so much a part of my schedule that I've sacrificed workouts for it. So I've had to pretty much change around my whole workout routine, which used to be daily. Yep. Now I've done it so that I need to have rest days in there, because you can exercise in the morning and then give blood/platelets/plasma, but it's I did that once when I went for a big ass run, and then the next week, a fortnight later when I went, they're like, something strange here, like, were you doing anything like the morning of? I was like, I did go for a half marathon. So I've had, I would say yes in that sense, in that I have radically altered around something I quite deeply care about for something else that I now quite deeply care about, which is giving back a bit more. But in another sense, no, because I was imagining myself going to more events such as picking up litter from the Brisbane River, such as doing more of the MS volunteering, walks, charity, that sort of stuff. I think I did 4 or 5 things that I went out to, but just time wise, it got to the point where I was like, I'm not sure I'm doing that much. Like, I'm just a body here. I'm not really...
Am I really helping out here?
Yeah. So, but I have started up like just donating to a charity like GiveWell, so effective altruism one. So I still find it hard to justify donating to charities, because I went through some of the financial reports and it's like, fucking so much wastage, man. So little money actually goes to
the end to the actual
goes to the people
who
it's meant to go to. But those ones, like, I've had to sort of switch my brain and be like, don't analyze this too much. You've chosen sort of like the most effective that you can. Like, you've done as much research as you're willing to put in, bar starting up your own charity and seeing just how bad it is to hard it is to actually be effective. And not shitting on charities here. I think that's just natural that it's going to be incredibly
there's going
hard
to be some
be
structure. There's going to be a structure, and the structure's probably going to sap some of that resource.
It's just bureaucracy. It's in every company. Like, no matter how big the company gets, bloat comes into it, etc., etc. So nothing on them. But for me, so I'd say like I done 2 out of the 3 things I was imagining that I would do. And that third one I sort of did half, so that was all right.
Cool.
Then for the knowledge/skills, this was going to be reading the Tripitaka. I was going to read the main like 3 core aspects, the 3 core texts of Buddhism. I had a shot at one of them, and then like the other stuff, I got a good understanding of, like, I'd say like the broad view of it, and I've learnt what I wanted to learn from it, but reading those texts, man, is really difficult and
Yeah, okay.
and not helpful. You know, fucking caterpillars and monks. And what is this bullshit? You know, it's not. I'm not becoming a better person for reading about these things. You know, I'm not gaining knowledge that I can help other people with. Like it was just purely like, what the fuck am I reading? I don't see how I can apply any of this to my day-to-day life. Very obscure stuff. So that one, the goal changed around to being understanding Buddhism, and I'd say, yeah, you know what, I had a pretty fair shot at that. I physically went out to, like, you know, a Buddhist temple. I read a bunch of Buddhist books. I discussed it with you know, a lot of the core tenets and precepts with Jace on Gypsy Tales, for example. So I'd say that one I ticked off. Yeah. Cool. So those were my 8 as well. How about the fitness challenge? You looked at that recently?
No.
I can tell you, I think you were on 40 points. I was on 50 as of right now. I might get a couple more points in the next couple of days, but not likely.
Yeah, not likely.
So, any learnings from that? I think your learning is you don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, well, I think more the learning was we did it the year before, and it was good to, I think at that time, to focus me or center me in doing fitness related like achievements and actually going for stuff like that, which was cool. And the following year, I mean, my learning from the year gone by is it was good. However, it was maybe almost too many varied things in the fitness space where it's like, okay,
because we set it out where it's like basically 11 exercises each with like a step progression, 3-step progression in them. And yeah, like 11 exercises to get good at is pretty hard,
and I think mine were just too varied as well. Like there was when you talk about the amount of very long distance running and heavy squatting and swimming, like, okay, like, you know, maybe the swimming might kind of correlate with some of the long distance running, but like the long distance running and heavy squatting, like they don't go together at all.
Yeah.
And at least for me, like trying to achieve that within the 1 year was like, nah, that ain't happening. That's not going to happen. So I was too pulled in like all different directions. But I think also similarly, it got to a stage where you're looking back, as we were saying, the yearly goals, I was, on the fitness goals, I went, yeah, okay, this is not as useful anymore, because like some of them that I wanted to achieve, which was on the, I guess, gym side, I was like, yep, got them. And the other ones I went, yeah, okay, I'm not focusing enough already. So, and because I didn't see them also specifically in my yearly goals, I was like, oh, well, I'm not really breaking this down properly and looking at them at all. So
yeah, that was sort of my understanding as well a little bit, which was I was pretty happy with how I said it in terms of power movements, like so getting some explosive power. So this was combining like the weighted stuff with pure power moves, like muscle ups, for example. You just need to be like real quick with that. So I was happy with those, and then I was happy with the other portion, which was like the handstand dedication part, which was just getting good isometric holds and in sort of weirder positions than normal. The problem was the running, though. That didn't need to be in there. That absolutely should have been a yearly goal, for example. Like that is more than worthy of being a yearly goal.
Own yearly goal,
And the problem, I think, was I was sort of treating it as a yearly goal in a way. Like I had this weird mix-up in my own head where it was like, I don't really care about this. It's only 10 points in this thing that is not even part of, you know, the whole structure. But then also like, man, I really like, I must do it as well. You know, I was like, I must run a marathon.
You must run a marathon.
So I had a weird crossover there, and that absolutely detracted from everything else. So yeah, those 50 points, they probably would have been like 80, 90 if I hadn't devoted so much time to that.
Yeah, okay.
Because everything else suffered.
Yeah.
So that was my learning. If you're gonna put something in like that, it deserves to be more front and center of your mind, and you know, you need to be able to calculate more how much time you're really willing to invest in it. And
I think and that's the other thing as well, when with the fitness goals, and maybe some that translates to yearly goals. I think if we put all this stuff down, we're like, oh yeah, we really want to do it, but again, it was more aspirations and not goals in a sense, because we, like, at least for me, there was some that I wasn't breaking down to actually do. So as much I want to say like, oh, I'm going to swim this particular distance at this particular time. Yeah, but I wasn't like doing anything realistically to get there. I was just like, oh, let's go for a swim one day and just do it. So I think that obviously we'll talk about it in probably the next year goals, and we'll see how that sort of translated. But yeah, more the learnings was change it up again.
Yeah, and you know, like the point of goals is, I sort of see it as like the point of writing down these goals is that when I have 2 hours free on a weekend that magically appeared up, I can go to my phone and I don't need to know like have had a half an hour discussion like we're having right now on the exact specifics of what I want to do. I want to have a couple of things written down and be like, oh, I should work on that a little bit. Like that's right. I've got 2 hours free. I can go do that now. And the problem was like in my head when I was sort of doing those things, it was like, oh, I should do some running now. Whereas it should not have been like, I should do some running now. It should have been, I should be working on my German now, or I should be, looking at more places to volunteer or something like that. So that was a lot of energy got taken out by running. That, and I think the other problem was I felt sort of guilty that I didn't put much energy into the rowing, which we'd done the previous year.
Oh, okay, right, gotcha.
And so I was like, oh, gotta
really push for this.
And that was incorrect. So what would you rate? What would you say of your year of 2020, 2021 overall? Productive, not productive?
Statistically, it was obviously like 80% out of it was 80% of what I set out to achieve from that sense. But there was a lot of other things which I guess hidden from the yearly goals I ended up doing, which I'm now taking into the yearly goals. So like the 96 kilometer Kokoda challenge, that wasn't in there at all. Yeah, but it's something that sort of came up.
You know, if you add it all up, that was probably like 3 full days at least of dedication to it. You know, that's 1% of your whole year right there.
Yeah, like there's a lot of time. Yeah, there was a lot of time invested for it, like or whatever small amount of training I did for it and all that sort of stuff. So I think it was that and a few other things which popped up, which I went, oh, dang, I didn't realize I was going to get this into this sort of stuff. And not to say so it was successful in the way that yes, I went after the goals that I set down, but a lot of new things came up, which I guess get me excited for the next sort of set of yearly goals. But ultimately, I was like, okay, cool. I'm pleased with how it went. Looking forward to the next set.
Yeah. I'd echo that sentiment. I'd say for me, I learned a couple of things about myself of like, hey, I actually do have the ability to change goals in the moment. So the Tripitaka one, you know what? I didn't feel bad about changing that. That was a good decision to make, and I'm glad I didn't spend 20 hours reading shit that wouldn't have helped me
wouldn't help
at all. I think I learned a little bit about also, you know, just some of neither of us focused on the monetizing one really at all, but it was still sort of seeping in. It was like, you know, maybe I listen to a podcast and I hear randomly offhand like James Cridland talking about
podcasting 2.0.
And then that triggers that, oh, you know what, maybe that is interesting. Whereas if I hadn't written that down, that's right. I might have missed that one. I think I think when you get into it, a lot of times like life is those small little things which you did something a while ago, and then you find it, and then it's like you just go down this path, and it's like next thing you know, you're chatting with Dave Jones, and I literally sent them 100,000 satoshis last night, going back and forth as like appreciation. So
dang.
I'm spending and sending like actual money, like decent money across these all things. So I was really happy. I'd say I learned a lot about myself. Main learning for the year for me was be careful about striving too hard. That's not what I'm about. Yes, striving in many ways, but it's got to have a purpose, and it can't detract away from the really important things. So be careful with that. All right, what do you reckon? Boostagram time.
Boostagram time.
Well, we had a quite a big one this week.
Cool.
Did have James Cridland on. So
that's right.
That helps having someone interested in the 2.0 space. People get into it. So I'm just ordering these via when they came in, not via how much.
Cool.
It's because there was too many that came in. So Kyle Haber from the host of the Intergalactic Broombot Boombox Podcast. Pretty good. There's our friend who is very good at voice acting. He says, showing some sats love. Booyah! So he sent... overall, it's weird because I think Cast-O-Matic, we haven't used it ourselves yet. I'm trying to use it on my brother's phone. I think they were having a problem with multiple boosting, so they were pressing the button. It wasn't going through, and so they pressed it again. This actually happened a couple of times for us, so thank you very much, Carl. I'm not sure if you wanted to send through 2,000 instead of 1,000, but hey, much appreciated. Adam Curry, newpodcastapps.com plug. Yes, that's really helpful, that website, if you're going onto it. I believe they're going to be updating it soonish as well. There's some talks about that. 5,000 sats you sent using Curocaster. Dave Jones, great episode with James, really loved it. Big one, 21,161
very
using
nice.
Cast-O-Matic. Thank you, Dave. Much appreciated. I've basically sent more than that back to you right now, so enjoy. We've got Oscar Merry from Fountain FM. Looking forward to this one. 2,222 using Fountain. Thank you, Oscar. And then great interview. Really enjoyed this one. Also found the ducks very soothing. And then duck emoji 7777 using Fountain. Yeah, that. Man, honestly, sometimes I listen to ours and I'm like, fuck, this audio quality is really good. I really love it. Like, I love the atmosphere. I love it, whatnot.
Yeah.
And then last night, they played a snippet from it on the Podcasting 2.0, me talking about how I first found them and thought it was a scam and thought Adam was going to send like me Bitcoin for putting it on. And when I listened to the clip he took from ours, I was just like, oh man, that is fucking awful. Like, that sounds so bad. I alternate between our
Wait, how you feel about the audio quality?
Yeah, I really do, man. I really, like, some days I'm just think it's great, other days awful. I don't know. Anyway, Peter with an A. The Australian Joe Rogan. Take my sats. I actually wouldn't say that, man. I would say if you're looking for the one closest to the Australian Joe Rogan,
Jace.
would be Jace from the Gypsy Tales podcast. His studio is set up very like it. The
conversation,
the length of time he goes from how he starts it off. The only difference, I guess, is he is very interested in motorsports, and so most of his guests are motocross related. Although
it's like Joe Rogan being, UFC mixed martial arts.
Yeah, in a way, I would say it's slightly more focused in that case. So if you want the Australian Joe Rogan, I'd go over there. But hey, man, I appreciate the analogy anyway. It's makes me feel good. So Peter, now this time it's Peter the Slav. And he says 500 sent using Podfriend, and he just did a thumbs up emoji. Thank you, Peter the Slav. So this is when we were discussing his Slavic origins. And then here we go. Peter the Slav from Scandinavia. So sexy gorilla time. I think I actually dated that girl in high school. 2,000 sent using Podfriend. So I'm guessing that means he's Canadian. I've actually tried researching where he found us from. There's two guys on the Mastodon with the name Pete R with an A, so I'm guessing he's one of them. So I'm guessing he's sort of like a no agenda guy from Adam Curry's area. Somehow made it onto Podcasting 2.0, somehow made it onto us, so I'm guessing that's the connection. So
all right.
Peter the Slav from Scandinavia. Thank you, man. Very much appreciated. Who else we got here? So we got Oscar Murray again. Oh, sorry, this is wrong podcast. That was from Value for Value. Adam Query. I think he misspelled his own name there. Transcripts are very useful for searching in a podcast. Most apps allow searching. So this is one reason, I guess, why we would want transcripts. And I have noticed some podcast apps are good for searching, and then others are just awful.
Terrible for them.
Yeah. It's hit and miss. You really do need to get Podverse because they do have searching of transcripts in it in their search thing. Also for the CarPlay. So definitely need to try that out on your fancy new car.
Yep.
Peter again. Peter, man, thank you. Thank you so much, man. This is actually a useful topic that I think we'll explore in maybe next week's Meanderings and Musing. So it says, fungibility is a useful characteristic, and usefulness is what gives Bitcoin value. Nearly all non-fungible tokens have no use and therefore no value. Don't get sucked in. NFTs are a fad. I'm more inclined to his point of view. I think you might be on the opposite end. For me, in a very general statement right now, I'll say the way I haven't started playing with NFTs yet. I do plan on doing that.
Yep.
And playing is the correct word.
Yeah.
The way, all the things you've told me, all the things I'm seeing online, it makes me think like this could be a fun thing to play around with, but like long term and in terms of the risk of getting fucked over, I definitely want to treat this carefully and more as a play thing. But yeah, we'll discuss that, I think, maybe in Meanderings and Musings next week. 990 cent using Podfriend. Thank you, my friend. Maybe Juan will learn his lesson and not do it. And that's it. So
good.
Thank you, everyone. Man, very, very much appreciated. And
lots of Boostagrams. Very cool.
It's perfect for feedback because it's like we've got a new topic to talk about for next week's episode, and it'll be a good one. And it's it's something that'll be useful. Peter was talking about it, so he might be interested in like, hey, this is why
that's right
into the NFT space. This is why I'm not particularly, etc., etc. So I think that's we'll call it there. Today's been a bit of a longer one for us, getting up into. Damn, I can't even see the timing here.
It probably would be around 40-something minutes. Yeah.
So everyone, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the Boostagrams. Very much appreciated. If you are new to the Mere Mortals podcast, I would say we have to be careful as well with our recommendations because we're so deep in now that it's hard. I would still say if you're on Android, get the Breeze app from the Play Store. That's the easiest way you'll get introduced into the Lightning world. I would also actually, just a general recommendation, you've probably been hearing, Twitter's doing this crazy thing with like Bitcoin tipping. I don't understand it. Give it a try. Give it a try on your Twitter account because that'll get you introduced into the world of the Lightning Network inadvertently. You don't have to get too deep like we are. And then you'll start to understand some of the things we're talking about regarding boosting, regarding sending Satoshis, things like that. So
correct.
Dive into that. You've probably got a Twitter account, so check that out. That'll be my recommendation for today.
Good.
And share with a friend. Do it.
All right, we'll leave it at that, folks. I hope you enjoyed. Immortals out.
Kyrin out.